So you're playing Valorant and you think you're going insane because you feel like every game has 6 duelists on both teams and it's like the ranked is in an absolute worst state ever, and you think maybe it's just me. Well, in this video, you will actually get to know, are you a crazy person or is actually Riot messing up the entire game? Welcome to Loto's Valorant Lab. Today's episode is sponsored by Elgato. Go to elgato.com for the newest hardware for streamers, use the link from the description below and the code for 5% off. Thank you Elgato for sponsoring the stream. You know how everyone just always blames me for being a Riot shill because, you know, they pay me to be on an analyst desk and that's what makes me an employee of Riot and I'm never critical of them? Well, at least this video is gonna be a proof that I'm not. Like I needed that proof, but hey. So you can blame Riot for this patch and a lot of the changes that they did. I think there's a lot of sensational like reactions happening by a lot of players and content creators in the background as well. I understand that ISO is overpowered for ranked. I disagree heavily with some of the sentiments from other content creators and analysts saying that ISO would dominate pro play. I don't think he's good enough for pro play. I don't think he's gonna be picked even by pro teams unless they're gonna pick him as a supportive duelist for Raze, you know. But I will talk about that later because the main topic of today's video is gonna be what is the actual pick rate of the agents, and are you a crazy person for feeling like ranked is just devolving into something that is not enjoyable? So I gathered from a website called Meta SRC a lot of data and I made a comparison of what was happening. So I'm gonna show you right now the data from patch 8.10. All right, so this is 8.10 data, which means that we are getting stuff before the patch that introduced ISO and neon buffs, right? So this is something that is not exactly what you're experiencing now. So how do we read this? We have duelists, we have initiators, we have controllers, and we have sentinels, right? Divided by categories. Now, here you have win rate in percentage, which is not important, but the thing that is important for us is this one over here, the pick rate. If you want to see this file, by the way, you can go to my Twitch chat and type an exclamation compendium or just below the description of this video. I'm gonna put it there. So this is percentage, right? So for example, Jet has an overall pick rate at Immortal Plus, by the way, I'm only taking into account Immortal Plus pick rates, has a pick rate of 16.19%. How do we understand that? So that means the 100% pick rate is 10 agents in a lobby. That means that on average in 100 games, you have 16 Jets. When we divide that by 10, then on average per game, we get 1.6 jet per game, right? So on average, you get 1 Reyna, on average you get 1 Raze, and so on. So there are like 3 duelists occupying the overall slots, and on average, on the right here, you're gonna see duelist overall pick rate 40.88%. So to understand that, essentially every game has 4 duelists in it, 2 for each team. That would be the average, right? On average, you get 20% of initiators, which means every team gets 1 initiator. And controllers is almost 20%, right? It's 19.83. That means that on average, you get also 1 controller per team, almost. And then sentinels are 19%. So almost always you get at least 1 sentinel on the team. That is patch before ISO and neon changes. And now, let's check if are we crazy or did it get worse. And now, those are the stats of our current patch 8.11 with ISO changes and neon at Immortal Plus. First, we're gonna talk about this right here. Right here. Duelist overall pick rate 46.45. The overall pick rate of duelists got boosted by over 6%. So how do we understand that? That means that from patch 8.10 On average, per game, there's 0.6 duelists more. That means on average, you get 2.3 duelists per team. When you log in into a game, half of the lobby is playing duelists. You are not crazy when you have the conclusion that something fucking happened. It did. Riot overbuffed the duelists, and we're gonna talk about that in a moment, but the duelist pick rate is just through the roof. It's insane. You are not crazy for thinking that the game is just devolving. Instead of progressing forward and into more team-based game, it actually devolves into egoistic players picking duelists all the time, right? And who suffers? Let's pay attention now to the overall initiator pick rates. Down by 2.5%. Controller pick rate down by over 1%. On average, you're not getting even an initiator and a controller in a team. Because on average, one team doesn't have one. I mean, not on average, but it's like you get less than 2 controllers on average per lobby. So literally everyone, apart from duelists, suffers right now. And players like me, for example, who, I'll tell you my history, my brief history. My first main was Sova. Then my main was Viper. Then my main was Breach. And I always played support agents. But the thing is, every single time, my feelings towards the game got reinforced because I felt like people don't want to play with me, and if I use the utility for them, they will not take advantage of it even when I communicated, and will just tell me that I'm backseat gaming or whatever. So what's the point for me playing an initiator for other people? Because also all the initiators got nerfed to not be self-sufficient. This is why I added right here this color code over. Let me just destroy this so it. Here we go. The red and green and blue. So let's talk about why did I put this here? Green means that the agent overall got buffed from his initial state. Red means that the agent got nerfed from its initial state. Blue is essentially doesn't matter. So look at this. From the duelists, 5 out of 7 is buffed. ISO is giga buffed. Reyna is giga buffed twice now. Both reworks of Reyna are essentially buffs. Even when people considered Reyna having 4 orbs being better than the 2 orbs, people don't understand why was she better when she got 2 orbs. The fact that less number worse is not true. People don't understand that. The reason why Reyna got better with the first change is because now she had an assist system for her souls. Before, when you had 4 orbs, you needed to get a kill to get the orb. So when someone stole your kill, quote unquote, you couldn't dismiss or heal. But after the change was actually directed into making her more team oriented, so she doesn't lurk constantly to get the kills, right? And now the change, another change that we got is 100% buff because the dismiss speed is ridiculous. And the fact that we have a constant ult and a constant health buff is also a bigger impact, has also a bigger impact, specific also on high rank like Immortal Plus than on any other rank. Reyna is buffed. Neon is buffed, of course, and I think she's a very high skill agent. She's ridiculously good, but there's not many people specializing in her. Raze and Jet are insane still. They got nerfed, but you could still change it to green and consider them being insane, because even with all the nerfs, they're just incredibly playable and incredibly self-efficient. Phoenix and Yoru got buffed as well. They're both very good agents, specifically also for ranked. For pro play, Yoru's insane, but teams don't have players who can specialize in Yoru. Same goes for Neon, right? So it's like all of the agents that are duelists are only seeing an upwards trajectory because either they started in a state that was so broken it was impossible to play against this shit, like Jet or Raze, and everyone else from duelists is getting a buff to be good. And now let's look at initiators. Sova, nerfed. Ult was nerfed. Drone was nerfed. Shock darts were nerfed. Recon was nerfed. Everything was nerfed to the ground. Everything. Literally every single piece of utility was nerfed to the ground as a Sova. So of course you don't want to play Sova because now you just feel like you're kind of worse and worse and worse and no one will use your utility anyway. Gecko is okay. He got buffed a little bit, but he's one of the initiators that everything that he uses might not have value because it can be shot. Sky, everything was nerfed. Apart from heal. Flash, Dog, nerfed. Sky, ult, nerfed. Fade, I, nerfed. Prowler, nerfed. Seize, actually not touched. Ult, nerfed. Breach, Flash, nerfed. Stun, I actually can't remember. Aftershock, I would consider different, so not exactly, but Breach ult is giga nerfed. Why is it at 9 Orber? I still don't understand. KO is in a spot when you can consider him both nerfed and buffed because his right click is doesn't have such a long duration, but his left click has a longer duration, so it's like whatever. But just to tell you guys, his pick rate at Immortal Plus is below 1%, even though he's like an absolute must pick on many maps at pro level. He's just so bad to play for ranked because you are meant to help your teammates more with him, and you're like a meat shield when you have the ultimate, right? So yeah, and then let's take a look at controllers. Clove, yeah, well, she got nerfed, but whatever, she's just a Reyna on with smokes, right? So that's why she has such a pick rate, 9% in rank, because she's self-sufficient. You can see what players are gravitating towards. Omen, nerfed. Viper, nerfed to the ground. I would consider Viper one of the most creative agents that you had in the past. Now, you can't do shit on Viper. Wall cannot be moved. That was never changed. But Orb was the reason why I liked playing Viper. I could have repositioned it and use it to sneak around and so on. Right now, she just feels absolutely terrible to play with. But the thing is, her pick rate at pro level will not change because the map design dictates that you need to play Viper. And that's my another point. With duelists, ISO is not gonna get picked at pro level because maps like Ascent, Bind, Sunset, Split, all of those maps require you to play mobility duelists, which is Jet, which is Raze, and to some degree Yoru and Neon. ISO, Reyna, Phoenix don't deliver that. They can't. They can never be a solo duelist for a team on those maps. So they will never be picked by teams even when they're in a broken state. Because the only reason to play that agent would be to be a support for someone else. So let's say a pro team will consider playing ISO in this patch. Let's say we play Bind. They still need to play Raze because they need the mobility and they need that additional utility. So if you want to play ISO, it makes sense to play him on that map because he can support Raze with his most broken piece of utility in my mind, which is the grenade, the double damage. When that goes for the wall, it makes the pain shells 110 damage with first explosion. It's absolutely mental. And if you actually watch my first video about ISO release, when he was like released 1 year ago or something like that, I made a video on day 1 or day 0 even, when I was testing him on the PBE. And I said that he's not really good, but if he ever gets nerfed, it's gonna be his grenade, his paranoia equivalent of double damage, because that piece of utility is too easy to use and it delivers too much synergy with all the damage utility that your team can have. And in current state, ISO still has the same problems that he had in the past. He is just better at taking singular duels, but for a pro level, he doesn't have mobility. He doesn't help with trading. If you swing as an ISO and you get 1 kill, you most likely die. The reason why Chamber was so oppressive in the past was because his TP was instantaneous, repositioned you as well, and it made it impossible for opponents to trade. That's why Chamber was picked so often at pro level. Not because he was broken because of his ult or because of a headhunter or the traps. It was his TP. ISO doesn't have a TP. ISO doesn't have a dismiss. Those two pieces of utility are broken. Why Jet was broken? Because you were better than Chamber. You were standing anywhere on the map. Anywhere on the map. And at the press of a button, you were gone. You could have stand in one spot. You could play Ascent. You could play in A main and stand for 1 minute and 30. And if no one contacted you, you didn't have to use a jet dash ever. But if someone contacts you at a given point, at any given point of the round, you just press a button and go, fuck off, fuck off. Can't trade me. I get a kill with an operator and I'm gone. Can't trade. That was the broken state of duelists. That was what made Valorant so hard to play in the past. That's what made players actually star players, because they were abusing jets. At pro level, you can't abuse ISO. You can abuse him in ranked. He is too good for ranked. People deal so much damage with ISO. It's 176 per round. That is more than Raze, where every piece of utility deals damage. Right? It's insane. But again, I'm ranting because this is the first time where I can literally say Riot either doesn't understand their own game and what is happening on a personal experience of players playing this game, and they're buffing stats of agents that don't need it, while the players that need it don't get it. I don't know. It's the first time when I'm disappointed with the direction of the game, and I hope this will be considered nerfed, because I'll just give you a quote. After this patch was introduced with the changes to it, there was a interview with one of the devs from Riot telling us how Reyna is being tailored towards being more team-oriented, but not a single one of those changes that happened to Reyna is actually making her motivated to play with the team more. It's actually even the opposite. You dismiss in safety more. You can heal permanently, so you don't have to be with your team even. Your ultimate is permanent, so you don't have to be aggressive. You can just be an anchor on side, or you can just permanently watch mid on attack. It doesn't matter. Nothing just makes you feel urgency. And what's even worse, what I heard, is that the devs said if this is not enough for Reyna to be picked more at pro level, they're gonna tweak the numbers. Tweaking numbers of agents like Reyna and ISO is not gonna be enough. But you know what's gonna be good for tweaking those agents? Reworks. Changing utility that actually matters for a team. What would be my proposition? I'm gonna spitball some ideas. This is not something that I spend a lot of time thinking about. But for Reyna, if I would like to make Reyna more team-based, I would make her team-oriented with utility. For example, her ultimate from now on is a small AoE around you, like a walking steam beacon, that gives your teammates a buff to their fire rate and reload speed, and also equip time, and gives, I don't know, small heal per hit. So you have like lifelink. I don't know if that's gonna be a good change, but my point is, you incentivize the Reyna to be next to the teammates because they get the effect of it. So you make it an AoE around her. You make her her blind also connect to teammates in some way. Or you make the heal and dismiss being connected to the team instead of her. Right? When she heals the team. She gives shield to everyone around her. Stuff like this. That will make Reyna change the perception of the agent. For ISO, it's not the shield that is important. For ISO, what is important is the wall. You need the wall to be wider, because right now that wall doesn't really cover a lot of angles. So when you enter the site, you feel like you're not really having any cover anyway from that wall. And you cannot, by the way, stop it, because that will make it broken. Imagine you defuse behind that wall and you stop it in front of your face and you cannot be shot at. That wall can never be used as a wall that you can stop, like the cascade from Harbor, right? There's so much stuff that needs to change, but also one important thing is we need a change in map design. We need, and I know Community will hate me for saying what I'm gonna say right now, but we need more maps like Breeze and Icebox. I'm not saying those maps are well designed, but what I'm saying is that those maps don't have that many choke points. So they don't require you to play a mobility duelist. You don't even have to play a duelist on Icebox. And by the way, accidentally, Icebox is the best map to play ISO because you don't need a mobility duelist, so you can literally play ISO. But you need maps that make you play more with utility, less with dry peaks, but also you're not forced to play duality. You're not forced to play mobility duelists who are just required for you to make and execute through the choke point, like on Ascent. Ascent is an absolute dog map because every single game looks the same because you have 3 entries, 1A, 1B, and 1 mid, and all of them are like tighter than your mom's socks. You know, it's like, it's so tight your ankle just goes blah, blah. You had to go through a choke point and dash through it. Without mobility, unplayable, right? So, yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed my rant. I hope Riot will do something. I hope that they don't do anything. And I hope that my point will be proven right. And my point would be that you will not see a lot of ISO picks at pro level unless he's a duelist that will be a secondary like support agent. But that's not gonna happen. You're not gonna play less initiators or play less controllers at pro level. So who the fuck knows? Or maybe that we just don't play fucking Sentinels. That is actually an option. Why not? But yeah. Alright, well, let me know your opinion in the chat if you would like to disagree with me or ask me any question. I'm always happy to answer all the comments. And again, if you want to look for the file with all the explanations on agent roles and defaulting and pistol buys and smokes here, you have a lot of stuff. I'm gonna link this in the description. Thank you for watching. See ya!